during the holidays. I'm Andrew Jones. It's my pleasure and my privilege to be the chairman of the board for the Ashland Alliance. I feel very fortunate to be a part of the Ashland Alliance during such an exciting time for our community and our region. So on behalf of the board of directors and everyone involved with the Alliance, a big thank you to everyone that's come out to support us this evening. We have a great evening of fellowship and celebration planned. And so with that, I will invite Secretary of the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, Mr. Terry Gill, to the podium. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I would like to just start by thanking the Ashland Alliance and our title sponsors, Braidy, Allinace, and Kiewit. Could we give a warm round of applause for our sponsors tonight? You know, it is obviously by the attendance tonight, it's an exciting time in Great Boyd County, but it's really an exciting time in this state. It is a remarkable time to be part of a growth era that we have not seen in this state literally ever. The growth that we've seen since Governor Bevin has been in office has been historic, and it continues. Over $17 billion of new investment that has come into this state has shattered every previous record by any administration over 4 years. And here we are in year 3 with a year to go. So it's been remarkable, and part of that was 47,000 new jobs, part of that investment. And these investments are coming from domestic sources, they're coming from international sources, and obviously a good portion of those, or at least a portion of those, that 47 billion, and a portion, I'm sorry, of that 17 billion, a portion of those 47,000 jobs are happening here in Great Boyd County. And it is not only these large companies like the Braidys and the Allinaces, but it's also companies like Wright Mix and Steel of West Virginia and Portable Solutions Group that are following this trend, this renaissance, this renewal of this community in this part of the state, and I'm happy to be part of it. But I'm also thrilled to be part of administration that is working hard every single day to create new opportunities in all parts of this state, north to south, east to west. And it's a remarkable thing to be part of. And it's my distinct honor and pleasure next to introduce our governor, Matt Bevin, the architect of this new growth area. Please help me welcome Governor Bevin.
It is good to be with you. Are you excited tonight? Are you fired up tonight? Seriously. This is an unbelievable turnout. It truly is. Thank you for being here tonight. Boy, if you cannot feel the energy and the enthusiasm, you're not trying. This is exciting. I tell you, most people would think you're going to go to a kind of formal gathering, a celebration of all that's good, of economic progress, of hope and excitement, of community. And we're going to do it inside of a big warehouse, a big manufacturing facility. You'd think, really? But how about a round of applause for the people who did this lighting and these plants in this stage? This is beautiful. It really is. Outstanding. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you. And I feel bad. I had a chance to meet with some of you earlier, both in this direction and this direction. But I feel bad that I have to dash when I'm done here because we're going to back to Frankfurt, where I'm meeting with 30 CFOs this evening of fairly sizable companies, that some of whom have a presence here in Kentucky, others are looking to come to Kentucky. And this is the nature of what we do. These comments that have just been made, the statistics that have just been given, the numbers that have been generated have come about as a result of a lot of people out there working their tails off. Abraham Lincoln, a famous native son of ours here in Kentucky, once said that good things may come to those who wait, but only the things left behind by those who hustle. And there is some truth to that. This would not have happened. Where we are would not have been underway had it not been for a whole lot of people hustling. And to Craig Bouchard, thank you to you and your team for opening this facility up to us. Truly grateful for what you're doing to infuse a sense of energy and hope and community back into this surrounding area. To me, I've shared with you in the past, and perhaps even, heck, it was just a year ago that we gathered for an all record-breaking crowd. 3 years ago, to put this in perspective, as the Ashland Alliance had its gathering and people came together, just 3 years ago, there were, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there were about 268 people who came out. And that's a good turnout by any measure in any community anywhere. But 260 followed by 650 last year, followed by 950 this year. This is extraordinary. I mean, this is you. This is the kind of thing that warms my heart as the governor of this state. I feel blessed to have this opportunity. But I've shared at occasion, and maybe even last year, I'll share with you again, because I don't think it can be overstated what the vision that I have for this state is and how it fits so perfectly with what's happening right here in Boyd County, Greenup County, this whole surrounding area. It's been said that without vision, the people will perish. True indeed, very true. It's true for a community, it's true for a business, it's true for a family for that matter, it's true for any organization, it's true for a state, it's true for a nation. My vision for Kentucky is a simple one. I've often asked people, if you had to engineer and manufacture something to the highest degree of excellence, you had to do it in only a single country in Europe, where would you likely start? 100%, 99% of the time, the answer that I hear is Germany. It's what probably popped into your head as I was asking that question. People think if I'm going to engineer and manufacture something, I have to do it in a single country, I'm going to do it in Germany. If I ask the same question about the United States and you have to engineer and manufacture something to the highest degree of excellence, you have to do it in a single state in the United States of America, where would you start? It's not as easy. It's not. There are some who feel maybe obligated or even out of a sense of certainty that it's Kentucky. Others might say it's Tennessee or Indiana, Michigan, Texas, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Massachusetts, California. It quite literally could be a dozen or 15 different states that come to someone's mind. Every one of them is as defensible as the next. This tells us two things. Number one, nobody owns it the way Germany owns it. Nobody owns it. Is instinctively, and I'll tell you this, I asked that same question. I was in the Korean embassy, the U.S. Embassy in Seoul, Korea, a couple of months ago, just a few weeks ago, I guess, about 85 different executives of Korean companies looking to potentially invest in North America, and into Kentucky. And I asked them that question, if you had to go to a single country. They all said Germany, doesn't matter where in the world you go. But people don't have the same immediate reaction to any one state. So that tells us that nobody owns it. Nobody owns it the way Germany owns it. And so if nobody owns it, what else does that tell us? It's available for ownership. Guess who's going to own it? Kentucky's going to own it. That's who's going to own it. And here's the wonderful thing. It's not that complicated. We're not trying to pioneer new paths per se. We're literally leveraging that which we already have. And when you talk about engineering and manufacturing, we're not just talking about nuts and bolts. We're talking about the materials that those nuts and bolts and any number of other things might be made of. You may be talking about materials coming out of a volloxant where you use metallurgical processes to create alloys that have heretofore never been able to even be made. That now you can make materials lighter and stronger than ever in the history of the world. It'll be happening right here in this building, right on this property, right in this county, right in this state. That's the kind of engineering and manufacturing excellence I'm talking about. I'm talking about the aluminum that's going to be rolled out of this mill right across the street here. The fact that this will be going into products that are going to transform the way in which we interface with everything from our appliances to the vehicles we drive to those we fly in and who knows what else. All these things are going to happen just on the proximity of this ground that we're sitting on. Now scale that out. The people that make the metal, the smelters that are going to feed into these mills, into this particular facility. The people who create the iron itself, the people who are the recyclers, the people that are going to then roll it and heat treat it and anneal it and slit it and bend it and manufacture it and weld it. All these pieces are connected. And the entire ecosystem of it is going to be centered right here. We're already per capita the largest producer of automobiles in the entire country. And it's interesting, I mean, there was a statistic, if I can find it, these are things that have happened since I spoke to you last year. Last year we talked about some of these same things. And while it seems to some as a twinkle in the eye, and at the risk of railing against people and being negative on such a positive night, it amazes me how some of what passes for the larger media outlets in the state seem to despise and look down on those of us in this part of the state. I don't understand it. There's this sense of self-loathing that's odd to me, rooting against the success of Eastern Kentucky, rooting against the success of Braidy Industries and others. And whether you're making aluminum or whether you're making things of cement or whether you're making things out of shipping containers, the point is these are jobs that are coming into this community. And while people may look down on us, we should feel good about the pride and the sense of community that is being celebrated here, because it is transformative. And so last year when I was here on this stage, or a different stage here in town, and we talked about these are things that have been recognized for Kentucky in the last 12 months. We won the 2018 Gold Shovel Award by Area Development Magazine for investment attracted in 2017. We won first place, State of the Year, by Southern Business and Development Magazine for 2017. We were first among all U.S. states in attracting foreign direct investment manufacturers in 2017, among all states in the country, according to the Financial Times. We were second per capita and seventh nationally for corporate investment in new plants in 2017, rated by Site Selection magazine. We were eighth in the United States for best business climate in 2017, ranked by Site Selection magazine. And we were 10th in the United States for the lowest cost of doing business, according to CNBC. Those are things that have just been announced in the last 12 months. The reality is this is not some kind of a pipe dream. This is something we're already doing. We're the largest producer of aerospace and engineering components in the entire country, with one exception, Washington State, because of Boeing. It's the only state producing more goods in that front than we are. And so whether we're engineering and manufacturing things made of metal, or whether it's pharmaceuticals or medical devices, whether it's the alloys themselves, it is that center of excellence that is wide open for the taking. And whether we are investing in the type of training programs that are literally happening next door, where people are training for opportunities at this facility and others, 140 people currently registered in the classes being taught for people to be able to then be immediately employed here at Braidy Industries. This stuff is happening. It's not rocket science, but it does take work. I often quote Thomas Edison. He said most people in life miss opportunity because it usually shows up in overalls and looks like hard work. It's true. It does look like hard work. It does require some overalls. But if anybody can put on some overalls, put on some work gloves, work boots, roll up their sleeves, get to work, it's the people of Eastern Kentucky. It's the people of Boyd and Greenup County. Come on, seriously, it is. This isn't a foreign concept. We've been in the petroleum industry, the steel industry, the transportation industry, the mining industry for decades, for generations in this community. The pride and the resiliency, I commented on it last year. I'll touch on it again briefly. Even during the darkest of times, 5 and 10 years ago, as the economy really began to turn down, and people began to feel a little sense of malaise having descended upon the place. The park still looked beautiful as we headed into the Christmas season every year. The parade was still attended by massive crowds. The floats were still remarkably well done. No matter what was happening in the economy, this community believed in itself. This community celebrated the best elements of itself. This community was the exact perfect community to open its heart in its arms to a community, to a business like Braidy Industries, because Braidy appreciates the importance of community and the investments that they're making not only into the educational programs, but just even to things like ball teams and buying uniforms and celebrating the fact that the men and women that are going to walk in and out of this facility and every other one that has been mentioned and will be mentioned tonight, that those men and women, they want opportunity for their children and their grandchildren. They want their kids to be able to live here, to raise their families here, to find opportunity here. Somebody asked me once when I was elected, what would I hope that when it was all said and done, that people would look back and say, you accomplished. And what I said to them, I say to you again tonight, and it's true. I want a generation from now, and hopefully a whole lot sooner, I want the governors of Florida and Texas, Tennessee, and wherever else, I want them to wonder, why do our kids all have to go to Kentucky to get a job? Wouldn't that be a wonderful, I mean, seriously, why not? Why not? Why not? If we are indeed that center of excellence for engineering and manufacturing, if we design, engineer, and produce the greatest products in the world, and we have the entire life cycle from the smelting of the material to the whole production process that we talked about, what's going to happen? The people who make those products, the people who feed into that system and buy out of that system are going to come. Companies like this are a magnet. The conversations that are already happening with economic development, the conversations I'm about to have in about an hour and a half, or as quick as I can fly back to Lexington or to Frankfurt, these conversations are tied around what can we do to invest in Kentucky? Because companies like this are a magnet. People want to come. Success breeds success. I'm confident that in the course of the next year, awards like we just mentioned are going to continue to be won. I'll leave you with this encouragement. I was talking, there's a number of folks here tonight that have served in the military. In fact, let me just ask a quick question. If you've ever served our nation in uniform in the armed forces, can you just stand for a moment? Can you just stand for a moment? Who will? Thank you. Thank you. I love the fact that in this community, more than the average community, a number of people stand up. But here's what I want to remind you of the fact. We're all blessed to be able to stand here. But like myself, I'm sure some of those who stood, I served alongside guys who are dead, who died when they were young, whose kids have grown up without a father, people who would have been my age, plus or minus. But they have given the ultimate sacrifice. I mention this to you as an encouragement for you to take seriously the greatest gift you have been given, and that is the gift of self-governance. Your ability to go to the ballot box matters. How you vote is your business. But I would encourage you to look closely at each race and ask yourself, not what would Mama and Papa say if you voted a certain way, or whether or not your father would be offended, but what is in the best interest of you, of your family, of your business, and of future generations? Vote your values, not your party. And if you do this, and if you take seriously, and you look, say, where have we been for 100 years? And was that leading us in a good direction? Where have we been in recent years? And do we want to continue in that way? It amazes me that people even here tonight are literally advocating for and encouraging a return to the good old days of 5 and 10 years ago. Really? What exactly were those good old days? We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves, seriously. We owe it to ourselves, each and every one of us who is registered to vote, and I hope if you are above 18 that you are, to go into that ballot box and make decisions that are best for our community. and not for the self-serving interests that have so often in this state, in frankly every party, been too often the forefront. There's been a lot of corruption, a lot of self-serving, a lot of inside deals, a lot of political cronyism that has happened for years in this community and in others throughout this part of the state and throughout the entire state. We're better than this. We deserve better than this. Send men and women to Frankfurt. Send men and women to your judge executive positions, to your magistrates, to your local sheriff, to your school boards. Send men and women who will fight for you, who will respect you, who will serve you, who will be true public servants, for whom there is nothing in it for them, who don't want it as much as they're willing to do it. We have an obligation for those 1.5 million Americans who have given everything, who have died in uniform since the inception of this nation. We owe it to them to honor the sacrifice they've made, to take advantage of the obligation and the responsibility and the privilege that we have to go to the ballot box, and keep your eyes on the future. The future is bright indeed. It is shining bright on our old Kentucky home, and it is going to continue, but we have a responsibility to go to the ballot box and make sure we keep the momentum moving forward. God bless you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.